Why do you think that Zelensky didn't tell Trump about the plan? All right, your microsecond is up because he didn't want to tell Putin. And if you tell Trump, you're telling Putin. That's why, you dumb son of a bitch. You think they're going to tell Trump that they have an equivalent of Pearl Harbor? This is how fucking stupid people are.
Hey, James, you might remember that Donald Trump promised he would end the Russian-Ukraine war on day one. It's now day 134, and this war is raging. But then Trump and J.D. Vance, in a setup with cameras in the Oval Office, thought it was a great idea to insult a Democratic ally, Ukraine President Zelensky. Trump tried to humiliate him by saying, in this war, you have no cards. Zelensky actually has something much bigger, drones, and a brilliant secret plan to use trucks with detachable roofs to get close enough to Russian air bases, and in a masterful strategic launch attack 41 Russian strategic bombers, totally destroying a third. Some military experts said this was the greatest surprise attack since Pearl Harbor, and this time it was justified, and may mark a seminal moment in modern warfare. So I tell you what, JD and Donald Trump, keep your cards. Zelensky has something much bigger.
So I want to do a puzzle for our listeners, viewers, okay? Now listen very carefully to this puzzle and see if you can get the answer. I'll give you 1/10 of a second to think of the answer. So Steve Bannon criticized Lindsey Graham for going to Ukraine because no one, Zelensky, I don't know if they told Lindsey or not, didn't tell Trump about the plan. Why do you think that Zelensky didn't tell Trump about the plan? All right, your microsecond is up because he didn't want to tell Putin. And if you tell Trump, you're telling Putin. That's why, you dumb son of a bitch. You think they're going to tell Trump that they have an equivalent of Pearl Harbor? This is how fucking stupid people are. I mean, I don't know why people didn't jump on that. Maybe I missed it, the late night people. Jesus Christ, look at it. They didn't tell Trump they had this drone strike coming, and right when Trump was saying, you have no cards, this guy was sitting there saying, you think I don't have any cards? Wait till you see me deal off the bottom of the deck, and you'll start seeing aces flying everywhere.
Man, they got trucks. Drivers didn't know what they had, and with detachable roofs, they got in there undetected, got close enough, and then those roofs came off, and the drone set off. It really was just absolutely brilliant. It took them a year and a half to do it. And for those who say that the Ukrainians can't survive any kind of protracted war, I think this at least changes those dynamics and certainly changes morale.
I think you agree with me. The Ukraine war is the great moral crusade of our lifetime. I'm sorry. That was a sovereign country. It was recognized. It's cut out. It went through every piece of rigmarole you had to be a country. It's right there. It's critical. And they just pulled off and started a fucking war.
Yeah.
Blowing people up in hospitals.
Breaking a trees, a
right.
peace pact.
This is a moral issue. Moral issue.
Well, isn't it surprising that Donald Trump is not rising to a moral issue? Yeah, I want to draw attention. Speaking of moral issues, let me draw attention to another topic. It was a superb Peter Baker story in the New York Times, who pointed out Trump, who in his attacks against Harvard and other places, claims he is fighting anti-Semitism. Now, clearly there has been a problem at Harvard, among other places, but Trump fighting anti-Semitism is a joke, as our guest Larry Summers noted last week. Trump dines with Holocaust deniers. He dispatched Vance to praise Germany's neo-Nazi party. Peter Baker adds some more details of Trump hypocrisy. He put out an image, Trump did, last week, of him marching on a mission from God, fighting evil. Picture in the background is of an infamous anti-Semitic cartoon. Maybe you didn't know? It's kind of hard to imagine. Trump just appointed to head an office of special counsel, a guy named Paul Ingrassia, who has praised that same Holocaust denier and also criticized the arrest of a Nazi sympathizer who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. This man, the Nazi sympathizer who stormed the Capitol, has said, quote, Hitler should have finished the job, end quote. He also gave 2 speeches last year at Trump's New Jersey golf club. So thanks, Peter Baker, for further exposing what a total, complete hoax Trump's crusade against anti-Semitism is.
Well, okay, so Trump's a complete fraud. Great. I tell you who this exposes in a more profound way. And I hear this all the time. You go to try to raise money from like really wealthy Jewish fundraisers. And it said, look, James, I Democrat, but I can't be a part of party because of what happened at Columbia. Well, what the fuck did the Democrats have to do with what happened at Columbia, by the way? Mm-hmm. All right. But you because they have some students at Columbia fucking, generally made an ass of themselves. Well, I can't do that, but I can be for a party that everybody endorses the alternative for Deutschland. Read the modern incarnation of National Socialism, if you will. And I just find these kind of people, I literally, my instinct is, and they tell me that. They look me right in the eye. And no, you just want your fucking tax cut. Now that doesn't apply to most people, most Jewish people see right through that. But the ones that don't see through it, they just don't really, at the end of the day, they just want their fucking tax cut. And you can see it every day.
Well, there's a guy named Bill Ackman who's at the top of that list, James.
Put him right up there. Here I stand. I can do no other.
Right.
I just can't take what's happening at Harvard. Oh, really? And you would think that there were no Jews that ever went to Harvard. There were no Jews on the Harvard faculty. I mean, come on.
Well, the president of Harvard actually happens to be Jewish. And the president, twice removed, our guest last week, Larry Summers, happens to be Jewish. And not only that, I mean, look, Harvard, has its problems, and there was a problem with anti-Semitism, as the Harvard report acknowledged. And I'm sure that the faculty is overwhelmingly left-wing. But who else went to Harvard? I mean, Ted Cruz went to Harvard. 4 or 5 justices of the United States Supreme Court went to Harvard. Several cabinet members, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., went to Harvard. I think your good friend Steve Bannon even went to Harvard, James.
Well, while we're giving credit to him, what about that genius trade guy?
Peter Navarro,
PhD. So look, Harvard never occupied very much space in America. I wasn't going to get into anyway. The people that really get pissed at Harvard is people whose kids, nephew didn't get in. And, that goes with being Harvard. But I never thought that anybody could actually get me, of all the things in the world to feel sorry for, and all the injustices in the world, to actually get me to feel sorry for an institution with a $54 billion endowment. But these assholes did it. Congratulations.
Yep, they sure have. And, I kind of felt the same way. But boy, Harvard showing guts. They're going to pay a price. It's going to hurt them. But they are standing up. And I think Larry last week was right. They've got to continue to stand up despite some
never
pressure.
Thought I'd say this, but I'm pulling for the old Crimson.
Absolutely.
Not the Crimson Tide.
Absolutely.
It's the other Crimson.
And even, the Harvard Law Review, which is separate from Harvard, by the way, what the Trump White House did is they put a plan, or didn't put a plan in there. They had a plan in there, a guy named Daniel Wasserman, who fed him all kinds of information. And then guess what? He was hired to work for Stephen Miller after he supplied and the information. It really was just kind of small bore stuff. But that's who they are, James.
Yeah, that's who they are.
Okay. All right. We'll move on to wait a minute. James, is there anything else you want to bring up?
Well, I think.
Shall I lead into it, James?
Yeah, lead into it.
Okay. What today's what?
Today's the 4th.
The 4th. Simon, we're going to have a show next week before the military parade.
but we got to build this up.
Okay,
we can do it.
James, just where the suspense is building, the excitement just is rising. As only 9 days, I think, from now, there's going to be this great military parade celebrating the 250th anniversary of the United States Army and Donald Trump's 79th birthday. Are you excited?
I actually am. And I'll explain why James Carville, I could get excited. All right, let me leave it at that. So in order for the almost perfect political event, there's certain elements you have to have. One, you have to have great visuals. Well, they're going to be great visuals. Ain't no doubt about that.
Right.
All right? No doubt about that. You have to have real coverage. I mean, it has to be kind of wall to wall. All the cameras are there. Everybody's there. The journalists, the podcasters, you got that. You're tying it to an event. You got that. And while they're doing this, they are horrifically slaughtering veterans in the big, beautiful bill. And if we're smart, there's some evidence that in some of these groups, they should not bring people to Washington. They should have people go in your own town square with your own flags and accentuate on Flag Day. By the way, it is Flag Day. Wave the fucking flag and talk about true patriotism is how we treat our veterans, and build crowds around that, and use that event to leverage it into the most damning attack. This is Della Volpe, it's by far and away the most damning attack among the voters under 30 in 1,000 sample. You know what that means if you take 1,000 or 17% of the population.
Yep.
You also know instinctively that veterans, if anything, are going to be more popular with voters over 60 because more people were veterans in that demographic. You have the golden issue. And they all ought to be, and boy, do you have women's veterans now? Yeah. The military is compared as a percentage. Are you progressive? Get a load of this. They are more non-white people as a percentage in the United States Armed Forces or in the general population. Why can't you stand up for justice for these people? This is elementary justice. All right?
James, are you suggesting that Donald Trump doesn't love the vets, as he says?
Well, look, the man had some foot issues. Okay? What do they call Corporal Bone Spurs there? He doesn't. He told you what he thinks of you. He said they're losers and suckers. Why did they do this? Yeah. Understand, it's in the chances that General Kelly, who we know he told it to, we know that. Keep ramming it home. This is what's so frustrating to somebody like me. It's right in fucking front of you. The day is coming up. If you want to do something, get the flag, take the kids, take the grandparents, take the neighborhood, and go down to the courthouse square and talk about it. It's there. He cuts veterans because he thinks that they're all fools. Understand that. I mean, God almighty.
Well, okay, June 4th, June 14th. June 14th, let's hope for a split screen. There is Trump sitting there, and all of his cabinet will have to be there. Can you imagine a cabinet member saying, I have a conflict? He'd be an ex-cabinet member then, all there,
and worshiping. And we go back to our camera in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Exactly. Then I want to cut away to Omaha. I want to cut away to San Antonio. I want to cut away.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
Have real people. Okay.
Absolutely.